Hey, how are you guys doing today?
It's Myra
and Yvonne with
LunaWorks.
Odds and Ends. And we're going to talk about a really interesting subject today. Well, it starts out with us driving down the highway.
Down in the District of Columbia. And we're at a stop sign. And we see this, what appears to be a lesbian couple.
And the reason why we kind of assumed this was a lesbian couple, one was kind of more like shorts and a tank top shirt.
They
The other
look like lesbians.
Lesbian. Okay, yeah, one was a little.
There's a look.
It's a look.
Everybody
And
knows.
crunch, with the big bag. Anyway,
They were cute.
They were so cute.
Yes, and they were holding on to each other very tightly.
Yeah.
But in a I got you, you got me kind of situation.
Yeah.
And they're walking. There's a very, it's 6 lanes.
Yeah.
They're walking across. And so we just watched them walk across very safely. And we just thought about the first time
we were able to do any public display of affection. Or PDA and feel comfortable with doing that. Yeah.
And so we see in big cities that, people still, we take it for granted, actually.
Now we kind of keep taking it for granted. But,
and so, but
back in the days of the closet,
you didn't take that kind of, you weren't that brave.
Yeah.
And it took bravery to do that. Mm-hmm. And eventually it's just like any little warrior.
Yeah.
You get to a point where you have to do that hurdle of being brave for yourself.
Right.
And so we were talking about the first time that we were brave.
Yeah.
And the times that we actually in public, like the first time in public, but not in a safe environment.
Right. Because during that time, being out in public holding hands was not the most important thing that we had to deal with at that time.
Right.
Both working on a military base and realizing that, holding hands in public was the least of our troubles.
And it didn't identify us, so it was something that, it was a desire, but the anxiety that goes with those things of not feeling safe, not, and let me explain my opinion what safe, being unsafe, is people yelling at you, calling you names, being violent against you, or people around you, or just being negative or harming you.
That was a while ago.
And so you don't know what people are thinking. Internet has helped that to know more about what people are thinking, but during that time there was no internet, and so you didn't take that chance. And the other thing is, we lived in our hometown,
a small hometown.
Yes,
one of those towns where you could do a Kevin Bacon 6 degrees of separation, and we didn't want to get blown out. No.
It was more like we never denied, or if we just lived our lives.
No.
And was also a respect to our families. Mm-hmm. We're very close to our families, and it was more of a respect thing that it wasn't necessary. Mm-hmm. And and that's what happens, and you move out of town. You go to Washington D.C. where you feel more comfortable, but we were thinking about those times that
you took that step. We take that step and you hold hands, because it would be an hold hand in the moment thing.
Right. I want to hold your hand.
Straight couples do it all the time, and this and the other, and it's like all of a sudden when you get older, you almost learn not to give a rat's ass at one point,
Yeah, well,
and you feel like you earned that right, and we did, and we do.
We don't care what you think.
Yeah,
But that also has a lot to do with how we learned how to accept ourselves.
That is true.
And that's really the thing that helped that, is really accepting ourselves and that we're okay and it's their issue, not
Right,
ours.
at one. So,
Yeah.
and then you're right, because then we are okay with ourselves. So the question goes out to any of you guys out there. When was the first time that you felt comfortable
To show,
to show some public displays of affection with your boo? Whether you were two guys or two girls or guy and a girl or whatever. What was the when was the first time and when was the moment?
that was
That's
also, we didn't care. We weren't
Yeah.
thinking in that terms.
It was
Those
just-
little small things that you decide to. You and your girl decide to get into a photo booth. You have a great time and have some fun, and then you come out and how do you feel about that? There's those little things that a lot of people have a hard
Right.
time with.
I think our first time that we were able to feel comfortable enough was definitely in one of the bars, probably
Yeah.
the Hershey,
Yeah.
and then all the other bars around there, because it was like this was the safe place, and you could actually have a date with your spouse, girlfriend, significant other, however way you want to call that person, and it was nice, and we sucked that in
Well, it also becomes how you become addicted to going to the clubs
because
as a couple, because you want to have dinner and you're searching for places that you can get a decent meal and
you want to
conversation.
kiss and you want to snuggle and you want
Yeah.
to do all the good things that everybody else does,
Right.
And then you had the women's festivals and the other festivals. Pride was definitely the place where everyone was themselves and felt comfortable
Right.
being themselves and
Yeah.
hugging and kissing and
You
all that
okay?
stuff.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay. You okay?
you okay, yeah.
So, yeah, that's a big part, and so it was a journey for us, as we would do it when we were in Tidewater. We would do it at festivals or things like that, like hold hands or get close. I always found a reason to, touchy. So, but as we decided that we needed more,
Which was one of
and
the reasons we moved.
it was another added to our travel to go north, to Washington, to have our personal life to be a little bit more easy for us,
Easy,
non-complicated.
Yeah, all the above.
All the above, and our art and our careers were needed to go to that far. So it's been a win-win.
Yeah, and Hampton's a lovely little seaside town, but you could only do but so much. And being as we are,
Right.
we wanted to go further.
Right.
And
So
together.
So since we got to Washington, it's really interesting because we've watched other lesbians like new or early, like the 90s, and watched them come into the city, and there's this whole demeanor of we get to hold hands kind of look on their face, because it's always when you go to a big city, y'all know what I'm talking about.
Because
country girl go to the big city,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you see other lesbians, and they're holding hands or not, you just
And
feel
it-
like
and-
it's going to be okay.
And if you're in the district, which was Dupont Circle at that time,
yes,
you know,
DuPont, still kind of
still is.
17th Street. That
it's
You're-
gentrified.
it's been gentrified. But you always, you couldn't do it necessarily comfortable to do it outside
Right.
of federal grounds, not necessarily, but in your town, as in the Washington D.C. residents and those, it was you're a little more comfortable to do that. That was your spot. That was what you were supposed to be able to do
Right.
in that time, at any time. So it's why everybody comes to the gay kid comes to the city and wants to go to where the Mecca, where everybody
That's right.
is and want to see it, and is welcome. So,
And you have all those clubs and all of those venues that made it more accepting and comfortable for young adults growing up, knowing that I could be safe in this place.
right,
And it's okay to hold hands with my girlfriend or my boyfriend,
right,
and no one's going to yell, scream, get crazy or whatever.
right.
And
I can exhale.
Yeah, that's right. You can exhale
Yes,
and hold
Yeah.
my breath for too long.
it's true. You can exhale because when you are feeling like you're doing something wrong,
Mhm.
when it's not wrong,
Right.
you're just expressing your good feeling.
Mhm.
It's stressful to maintain it.
Mhm.
To maintain that level of I'm going to be in the moment, I'm going to have a good time with this, and we'll have a good time. And then eventually, if you can hang in there, eventually you do.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about the first time you hold hands walking down the street. What breaks your hands? What is the thing?
What makes you no longer want to hold that person's
Or
hand?
you disconnect. One of you disconnect. You know, and then the other one just is like,
Right,
oh, okay,
right.
what's going on?
Yeah.
What was that thing that made you disconnect?
Was it a look that someone gave you, or was it the look that maybe you and another person traded with that made you either uncomfortable, or
A family walks by,
a family walks by?
a family with kids.
Uh-huh.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No,
But we are already stressed.
Yes.
I mean, that's real.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
what that was about.
Yeah.
It was like trying to
Yeah.
be respectful
Uh-huh.
and get respect.
Mhm.
So,
So the question is, and I want to repeat the question because I really want some answer to it. Like, when was the first time that you felt comfortable, holding hands with your significant other, and what little lightning bolt got you started that I'm not going to take that anymore,
right.
and just be my, authentic self, that type of thing.
Yeah, what did it?
What did
was
it?
the thing?
Mhm.
Or was it the fact that you had somebody in your corner when you did it?
Right. Right.
We together,
Uh-huh.
we can do this.
Uh-huh.
We've never really walked that way.
Wakanda.
But you really wanted to be with this person, and it didn't matter what was all that minutia that's in your head and what other people are doing didn't matter anymore. It was what was important that you were in the moment and you loved who you loved at that moment. And sometimes you're holding hands, and the question is about what makes you disconnect. What is it that your partner saw that your partner wanted to disconnect? What did you see that you saw that you wanted to disconnect? And what was it at times when you both saw the same thing and you wanted? What is those things that make you disconnect in the beginning? In the beginning.
So disconnect as in you drop hands.
You drop hands. You put your hand down from the shoulder. You take your hand from under the arm. You don't look as close and together. You turn into sisters or friends all of a sudden, just like boom.
Which is interesting segue, because women have always been arm, down the road, or hand holding down the road,
Right.
as sisters.
Yes.
You've got the two little old ladies that are always arm in arm,
Holding each other up, spiritually or physically.
And
or
who's to say that two of them little old ladies have found each other like 60 years ago and they still together? And it's not just a sisterly thing. So when you see two women holding arm in arm, it's really not that bizarre, but it's the way you can hold a person's hand that presents itself as a couple.
Yes.
As opposed to sisters. It's like,
Right.
or girlfriends or whatever,
Yeah, I mean, is definitely a look.
Mm-hmm.
Some people might not notice it, but I think nowadays they do
Mm-hmm.
compared to in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Um, of those things.
Mhm.
So when was our first?
Hand holding?
No, the first time we held hand in public that was not at a festival or a club.
It was probably in Washington, D.C., and it was probably in DuPont Circle.
Yes, I will agree with that.
And it was probably one of the summers that we were visiting her sister.
Right.
And
Wasn't
staying
when
with
we were
her.
living up here. It was,
Right, we weren't even
yeah.
living up here. And so it could be like the late 80s, like late 80s.
Yeah.
And we would drive up, and we were ready to let go in DC every time we came up to DC. It was. It's like we could be ourselves. We would hit like maybe one or two of the clubs. It was not the primary thing. The primary thing was going to the museums and the bookstores, and stuff like
we
that.
Were geeks.
Because we were geeks. And being able to walk down the street of Connecticut Avenue holding hands, trying to get to the gay bookstore.
Yes,
that was
the first,
that was the epitome, and and inside,
and we did have a couple of times that we disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been just too much.
Yeah, it was like
just too much.
It's too much gayness here.
But it was also times that we quickly reconnected.
Yeah.
Because
it was new.
It was.
It was
new.
very new. Being able to.
It made you here. You felt so comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It was so much different from other places in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So
and during the festivals, it was just like out there because it was
everybody else was different.
Everybody else was different but the same.
Yeah. So yeah, that was.
We've come a long way, but we ain't all there yet.
Yeah, positive in this city, and thank goodness for the young folks who keeping it moving. We like that. Our generation, there's a period that you go through that you're radical, and then you hand off
each
the baton,
one hand off to the baton
to keep it moving. So thank you, sisters.
Thank you, little brothers.
Yes. So we want to know what we had another question.
That you guys can actually answer this question, and in the comments, and we will actually do a little thing based on the question. And the question is, have you ever fooled around in a public or a semi-public place?
Yes.
And that's a download thing. Like sneaking around.
Oh,
sneaking around. Yeah. But if you've ever fooled around in a public or a semi-public place, hit us up. We want to hear about. We're going to talk about it. How'd that happen?
That was a good thing. So, but no, that's cool. It's just like we never think about it as in part of our makeup. As this is new to be able to walk down the street and hold your hands without any. For some people, they've never had an issue at all. We know that. But some people were born like, I don't care. This is who I am. A lot of it is taking us some time to get to that point, but we get there. And so there's still a lot of people who are coming up who haven't gotten there, and it's all about being okay in your skin. And so when you have somebody with you, it's always so much easier to do it together. Mwah. Oh, you got rid of that funky makeup lipstick.
No, it doesn't come off. It's cool. I did it just for you.
I'm not a lipstick.
No, doesn't like lipstick, but I found one that does not come off. Well, anyway, and speaking of public,
it's public.
It's public. So this is Yvonne,
Myra,
and we're signing off for Luna Works Odds and Ends.
See you next time.
Goodbye.